Hello there, today I will give you 25 interesting facts about Japan and its culture. I wish you enjoy it now. 1. Japan is largely made up of 4 main islands. While Japan is an archipelago with almost 6,852 islands, only 4 islands out of all of them make up the majority of Japan's land area. The islands Honshu, Kyushu, Shikoku, and Hokkaido account for 97% of the total area of Japan. The main cities like Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto are located on Honshu Island. 2. The Greater Tokyo area is the most populated megacity in the world. The Greater Tokyo metropolitan area is made up of 3 prefectures and includes the capital of Japan, Tokyo, and has an estimated population of 38.14 million people, making it the most populated megacity in the world. 3. Japan has the world's second highest life expectancy. Japan is pretty much in a tie with Hong Kong with an average life expectancy of 83.6 years old and 84 years old. Many people attribute Japan's long life expectancy to its traditionally healthier diet when compared to Western countries. Think more fish and less red meat, more veggies, and smaller portions, how common it is for people to walk as part of their commute, and culture which places extreme importance on family. 4. 69% of Japan is covered in forest. When you think of Japan, you probably think of all the different cities there are in the country. Surprisingly, the majority of Japan at 69%, is actually covered in forests. I still remember exploring my first forest in Japan in the Mount Fuji area. There was a sign that warned visitors to watch out for black bears, and I honestly never thought black bears were roaming the forests in Japan until that moment. 5. There are a crazy amount of active volcanoes in Japan. In total, you can find 110 active volcanoes in Japan. 47 of these active volcanoes are actually closely monitored and watched by scientists because they have erupted recently or because they think there is a chance of an eruption. 6. There are more than 1,500 earthquakes a year. Yes, you read that right. Since Japan is located on top of or close to 4 different tectonic plates, the Pacific, North American, Eurasian, and Filipino plates, it is one of the most seismically active locations in the world. Of course, most of these earthquakes are small, tiny earthquakes that you wouldn't feel, but large and devastating earthquakes do happen once in a while. 7. The 1923 Kanto earthquake was the country's deadliest earthquake. Going off of number 6, as I was saying, big earthquakes do unfortunately happen in Japan. The deadliest earthquake in the country's history happened on September 1, 1923, and hit at a magnitude of 7.9. The earthquake is estimated to have lasted between 4 to 10 minutes, and in total, about 140,000 people lost their lives. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake, a magnitude 9.0 earthquake, is actually the strongest earthquake to ever hit Japan, killing 29,000 people. Since many of the houses in 1923 were made of wood, many people lost their lives in the fires that the 1923 earthquake caused. 8. Japan has the world's deepest underwater postbox. The deepest underwater postbox is located in Susami, which is a famous fishing town in Wakayama Prefecture and was recorded by Guinness World Records in 2002. The postbox is located 30 feet underwater and since 1999 has collected more than 32,000 pieces of mail. 9. Mount Fuji is a sacred place. Mount Fuji isn't just the tallest mountain in Japan, it has also been a sacred place in the Shinto religion since at least the 7th century. The cool thing is that in the Shinto religion, the kami, divine person, of Mount Fuji is Princess Kanohana Sakuya. Her symbol is the cherry blossom. I was lucky enough to have a chance to visit the Mount Fuji area last year. Although I am not a practitioner of the Shinto religion, I definitely felt an otherworldly atmosphere and peacefulness as I walked around Lake Kawaguchiko in the shadow of Mount Fuji in the early morning sun. 10. Japanese have a deep affection to nature. Similar to number 9, because of the deep-running spirituality of Shinto religion in the country, you will find that most Japanese will have a deep appreciation and affection for nature. This is because, in the Shinto religion, Shinto practitioners believe that everything in nature from rocks and mountains to rivers is possessed by spirits. 11. The Sea of Japan holds an abundance of fish. The Sea of Japan has a higher than normal concentration of dissolved oxygen, which allows many different species to flourish in the waters. More than 3,500 animal species, which includes about 1,000 different kinds of fish species, call the Sea of Japan their home. 12. Its history dates back to about 30,000 BCE to 35,000 BCE. There isn't too much information available about this period in Japan, But it's believed that the earliest hunter and gatherers who made it to Japan were around 30,000 BCE to 35,000 BCE. At this time in history, Japan was connected to the Asian continent by land bridges, so it is believed that these earliest humans made it to Japan via the land bridges. This period of Japan is also known as the pre-ceramic era because the skill and technology of making pottery were not known yet. 13. Jomon period, the first society of Japan. The first known society in the country happened during the Jomon period almost 15,000 years ago. They introduced pottery in the Japanese archipelago and is also where the name of their society comes from. The Jomon cultural sites reportedly still have remains of pottery artifacts and stone-based tools from that time. 14. After the Jomon period, came the Yayoi period. The Yayoi period started in 300 BC and marked an end to the Jomon period. People belonging to this tribe happened to be skilled weavers, craftsmen, and excellent farmers. The Yayoi people were more advanced than the Jomon people and are best known as the first people to start to cultivate rice. 15. No melt ice cream. Okay, the title is kind of clickbaity as the ice cream will eventually melt, but this ice cream reportedly won't melt for a few hours. The discovery was accidentally made while the scientists were experimenting with the chemistry in strawberries to assist farmers affected by the earthquake of 2011. 16. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to visit Japan. The first Europeans to visit Japan were the Portuguese in the year 1543 when they landed at the port of Nagasaki. This first visit from the Portuguese marked the beginning of the Nanban trade period, which lasted from 1543 to 1614. During this period, the Japanese and Portuguese freely traded goods with each other, and new technologies and cultural practices such as European guns, European armor, and European ships were introduced to Japan. Another surprising fact from this period is that the Portuguese actually introduced tempura to Japan, which is now one of the most popular dishes in all of Japan. 17. Japan had a period of complete isolation from the rest of the world. Because of the massive influence that European culture was having on Japan, since first meeting them in 1543, the shogun of Japan at that time Tokugawa Iemitsu closed off Japan to all foreigners in 1635. During this time, anyone who was seen using European goods would be punished. This law was called the Sakoku Edict of 1635 and lasted over 200 years. 18. A highway that goes through a building. Yes, you read that right. In Osaka, the Hanshin Expressway goes directly through the Gate Tower building's 5th, 6th, and 7th floors. In reality, the workers in the building don't really notice as the walls and floors of the building are soundproof and the highway doesn't actually touch the building. 19. Japan has a word for death by overwork, karoshi. One of the first things you'll notice when you visit Japan is just how hard everyone works, especially the salarymen and salarywomen in the big cities of Japan. Every day during morning rush hour, you'll see men and women in dark-colored suits sardine themselves onto the subway in order to get to work on time. Then late at night, you'll see them returning on the subway or at the local bar, half asleep and exhausted from a long day of work. It's no wonder why Japan has a term called karoshi, which literally means death by overwork. In April of 2019, new labor laws went into place capping the amount of hours employees can work in a week, so the long hours will hopefully get a little better. 20. One heck of a healthy diet. The Japanese diet is definitely known throughout the world as being one of the healthiest diets. With traditional diet staples that include plenty of rice, fish, and vegetables, people in Japan tend to eat less fatty foods richer in vitamins and minerals. Their diet is one of the factors to the long life expectancy in Japan. 21. The last emperor in the world. Japan is the only country in the world with an emperor. Even though the Emperor of Japan doesn't hold much power and mostly play a symbolic role, they are still a proud part of the traditions in Japan. The current Emperor of Japan is Naruhito, who took the position on May 1, 2019, after his father Emperor Akihito renounced his throne on April 30, 2019. 22. Japan is the third largest economy in the world. You might not think about it when you first think of Japan since it's an island country, but it is the third largest economy in the world. It's pretty incredible to see how fast the country has grown, especially since it had to recover from the devastation it suffered during World War II. If you don't live under a rock and have driven anywhere recently, then you could probably guess that one of the country's biggest product exports are automobiles, with all the Hondas and Toyotas on the road. 23. A banned Pokémon episode. On December 16, 1997, an episode of Pokémon aired in Japan that actually caused 700 children to have medical issues and had to be sent to the hospital. At the most end, Some of the kids even had seizures. The reason for so many kids being affected by this episode was the strobe lighting. Plus, at the time, Pokémon was one of the most popular shows in Japan, so many kids were watching the episode, which increased the odds of people being affected. 24. The political structure of Japan. Because of the country's size, the country has been politically structured into 8 different regions and 47 different prefectures. The prefectures actually go back to the Meiji period, 1868 to 1912, which was created to replace the lands controlled by the daimyo, the powerful feudal lords who ruled the country before the Meiji period. 25. Japan is a country of varying climates. Since Japan geographically stretches from north to south for such a long distance, the climate in different areas of the country tends to vary by a good amount. The climate in some of the big cities like Tokyo ranges from a temperate to subtropical climate. This means hot summers and mild winters, and 4 different seasons. On the other hand, the climate across the northern island of Hokkaido is much cooler. The summers are nice and mild, but in the winter the area gets a ton of snow and the temperature often drops below freezing. Thank you very much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in another video.